Hiya everyone and welcome to my channel. Please subscribe so you can keep up to date with any of my new videos and we can take a crack at solving the mysteries of the world together. This is about 5 of some of the strangest unexplainable missing persons cases in the world. Research has shown that someone is reported missing every 90 seconds in the UK alone. Around 170,000 people are reported missing every year, which I must add the police and charities have acknowledged that number is a significant underestimate. In the US, more than 600,000 people go missing each year. 1% of these people are unaccounted for, 99% either come home or have unfortunately been found dead within a year. I'm about to talk about some of the 1% of those people who have still not been accounted for, and unfortunately families and police are still searching for answers. Number 5. Elaine Park. Elaine was described as courageous and determined, outgoing, bubbly, energetic, popular, intelligent, and kind. She was described as the kind of person who would walk into a room and light it up. She was described as private, as she liked to keep her personal life closed off from anyone that she wasn't close to. Elaine loved fashion, pop culture, musical theatre, and dance. She had spent some time working as a musician and actress and had many talents. She had appeared on some TV shows such as Desperate Housewives and was proud of these small roles, and she had the potential to lead up to a lot more successes in her life. She was 20 years old when she went missing, and she had a full life ahead of her. When she graduated high school, Elaine enrolled in college, though it's known she stopped taking her classes in January 2017. She had recently been laid off from a restaurant job and is known to have previously struggled with bouts of depression. On the night of the 27th of January 2017, Elaine is staying with her boyfriend. They've been to see a movie after she had texted her mum at 9 p.m. They return home at 43 minutes past midnight, and he says at 4 a.m. on the morning of the 28th of January 2017, she experienced what he called a panic attack and woke up shaking and singing. However, her then boyfriend had tried to calm her down and asked her to stay with him until she felt okay, trying to convince her not to leave until it was safe. But this attempt failed, and at 6:05 a.m. that morning, Elaine gets into her car, where it was marked on CCTV as the last official footage of her to ever be seen. I want to note, however, that upon looking into this case, the police have said it's not being confirmed that this was Elaine, as it could have been somebody else entering her car. Elaine was then seen again at 7:14 a.m, leaving the front gates and exiting out of the gated community. It was also brought up that the time may have been wrong on the CCTV footage due to daylight savings time, and although it states it was 7:14 a.m, it could have been 6:14 a.m, and this has not yet been confirmed. If the time was wrong, that means that from 6:05 a.m. to 7:14 a.m, time was unaccounted for, and over an hour's worth of footage has therefore been undocumented. Elaine was reported missing, and 5 days later, after the last footage of her on the CCTV leaving the gates in her car, it was then found abandoned on the 2nd of February 2017 in Malibu. The car doors were found unlocked and her keys were found in the ignition, which had been left in the on position. Inside, authorities found Elaine's iPhone 7, her older broken iPhone 6, her driver's license, laptop, a black backpack, blue duffel bag, a makeup, and $37 in cash. Sergeant Robert William from the Glendale Police Department commented on this as follows: "It is suspicious in the way that we found her car, her cell phone and things in the manner that we did. We can't rule foul play in or out because, plain and simple, we don't have any evidence to do so." Shortly after her car was located, the search began. The police conducted various thorough searches across the area for Elaine, using bloodhounds and even drones to search Coral Canyon Park, the Santa Monica Mountains, Angeles National Forest, and other nearby areas. Unfortunately though, nothing was found during any of their searches other than some items of clothing that they were unable to determine whether they belonged to Elaine. The police say that they have exhausted all leads on the case of looking for Elaine in March 2017, just a month after her car had been found, and Devine, Elaine's boyfriend, is cleared as a suspect. He remains fully cooperative with the investigation. On Elaine's 1-year anniversary of her disappearance, Elaine's family's private investigator, Jaden Brandt, turns to the public for help with the investigation. He asks the public to come forward with any pictures or videos of parked cars in the area of 26048 Pacific Coast Highway between January 28, 2017 at 6:20 a.m. and February 2, 2017 at 3:30 p.m. A $1,000 reward was offered for a January 28th photo and a $250 reward was offered for a January 29th photo. They add that if any of the photos provided evidence as to what happened to Elaine, the supplier would receive a $50,000 reward. 5 years later, and Elaine is still missing. There has been no questions answered to her disappearance or her whereabouts or what could have happened to her that fateful morning in January of 2017. Authorities continue investigating, though the investigation is being led primarily by the family's private investigator, who continues to push for answers. Susan Park, Elaine's mother, has said as follows: "Elaine, we will find you. I can hear your voice every night saying, 'Mum, please come and find me.' It's heartbreaking. Something is going on. We have to find her." At the time of Elaine's disappearance, she was described as a 20-year-old Asian woman with brown hair and brown eyes. She was around 5'5" to 5'6" tall and weighed approximately 125 pounds. Elaine has her ears and nose pierced, and she wears heavy makeup and mascara. Her hair was waist length with blonde tips at the time. Elaine has the following tattoos: a cow skull, a moth on her arm, a dagger and flowers on her right arm, and a rose on her left shoulder. Here are some pictures of her tattoos as shown on the screen. Today, Elaine would be 27 years old. She was aged 20 when she went missing. Her birthday is the 24th of September 1996. Popular podcasts have been trying to help in being a voice for the victim's family and praying that someone is going to come forward with some information. But years have gone by and her family are still desperate and holding on to that chance that someone may know something. With their mum speaking on what everyone else is thinking, people don't just vanish into thin air. Here is the information on screen in which to respond to if you know anything in regards to this case. There are a lot of people online discussing what could have happened to Elaine, but what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Number 4. Luke Durbin. Luke Durbin was a 19-year-old who went missing in the UK in Woodbridge, Suffolk. He's been missing since the 12th of May 2006 and his family and friends are still searching for some answers. On the Missing People website, the message to Luke is as follows: "Luke, we are here for you whenever you are ready. We can listen, talk you through what help you need, pass a message on for you, and help you to be safe. Call, text, free, confidential." This goes to show the hope in people's hearts being kept for Luke, and showing that message, I think, is truly heartwarming. And I hope that one day Luke is found healthy, safe and well. But for now, let me tell you a bit about Luke. Luke was described as a quiet and thoughtful child who grew up into a personable young man. His friends have said how devoted he was to his mum and sister. It must be heartbreaking for his mum, causing her pain every day and retracting her past and searching in her mind for memories, signs, and clues. Luke isn't dead. He is missing and has been for 15 years. He was a keen guitarist, and although he ended music school, he dropped out after 1 year and became frustrated by a lack of direction in his life. But he didn't give up. He sourced a job, and that gave him positive changes overall. He often brought back food from his job to cook for his mum and sister. He was described as gentle and loving. Luke had ambitions to travel and record his music, something that he is incredibly passionate about. But now we will not know if these ambitions will ever be filled, and as such, where he is and what happened the last night that he was seen. His family, friends, and members of the public just want to know if Luke is okay. On May the 11th, 2006, Luke had plans to go out with his friends. He even took the next day off work because he had figured it was going to be a late one. He planned on spending the night at his friend's house in Woodbridge, which was 10 miles away. He arrived there on his motorbike, which he had left there along with his phone and a change of clothes. The guys had a drink at a local pub before taking a taxi to Ipswich. Luke's friend decided to head back en route as he had decided he had enough to drink at this point. Luke and his other friend then headed to Zest nightclub on Princess Street. Something to note about this pub though, at the time people are not sure if it was known for having a bad reputation, but eventually it was closed down due to a violent incident there which sadly killed a young man. Luke and his friend were separated at the club. When his friend went to look for Luke with drinks, he couldn't find him and thought Luke had possibly gone home with a girl. On the 12th of May 2006, between 2:30am and 3am, Luke is seen at Ipswich train station. All the trains had stopped running and he was asked to leave. Luke appears to be in good spirits here, according to the CCTV. The staff have commented and said that he was not drunk. At 4am, he's spotted for the last time on CCTV, where he is seen crossing Dog's Head Street. There was a possible sighting the next day on the afternoon of the 12th of May where two key witnesses came forward to say that they had seen Luke between 11am and 2pm. They say that he was in a dark blue Renault Megane being driven by a black man. According to this sighting, Luke was in Woodbridge, about 10 miles from his home at this time. If the sighting is accurate, Luke is unaccounted for between 7 and 10 hours. There is a potential lead, as there is some CCTV uncovered from when Luke crosses Doghead Street, and a Volvo 440 is seen on CCTV. When police enhanced the CCTV and traced the licence plate, they found that the name and address registered to it was fake. This has led to huge speculation, where it's been mentioned that the vehicle was an unregistered taxi. Apparently there was a huge problem in the area with gangs driving unregistered taxis and picking up people who they thought were vulnerable. Their motives on the vulnerable range from theft to assault. Time goes on and the family are still looking for answers. In 2012, however, something changes. Two men are arrested. A 40-year-old man and a 25-year-old man were arrested on suspicion of the murder of Luke. Their homes were searched, but with nothing found, they were released. Police have not released much information about what led to these arrests. There is no more information to go on in this case, and a lot of questions that will be asked. I personally think that Luke took all the steps that night to make sure that he found a way home. He is spotted at a taxi rank after being at the train station, which I think links in with one major source here, the key witnesses. I think it's too much of a coincidence for a car to be driving around the area that night with fake number plates, and let's not forget the huge drug gang problem in Ipswich at that time. What also springs to mind is that if he's seen alive the next day, he is potentially being manipulated by whoever he's with over a long period of time. Besides that, the last memory that his mum and sister share of him is Luke on the phone to his friend, his belly laughing so infectious that it made them burst into giggles as well. This is a sad case, and I find it truly devastating that a young man ready for the world has potentially had it all taken away, and his family are still stuck with no answers. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Number 3. James Ladaker. James was described as funny, smart, mischievous, and someone who loved and adored his family. He was an army veteran in the US and was 28 years old. His birthday was the 6th of September 1990. His description is that he is an Asian male, 5 foot 7 inches tall. He weighs 170 pounds and has black hair and brown eyes. He had short facial hair at the time he went missing. James was last seen wearing a baseball cap, a red shirt, and light-coloured blue jeans with ripped knees. He was going to school at UW Stout for engineering while living with his sister Kristen and a roommate, Mai. James went missing on the 4th of November 2018 in New Clare, Wisconsin, and his family are still desperate for some answers. He was last seen on surveillance leaving a college bar named The Pickle on Water Street in Downton New Clare before vanishing into what seems to be thin air. James went out that night with Mai and her friends, none of them he knew very well. They were out celebrating one of Mai's co-workers' birthdays. On the surveillance video, he is seen walking behind the bar in the direction of a bike path. The Pickle Bar happens to be extremely close to a river. James was separated from the people he was out with at this point, and his phone's GPS showed his last location was in the 100 block on Menominee Street. He did have contact with one of them, according to the police records, at approximately 23 minutes past midnight on Sunday morning, and the last phone activity was on November 4th, 2018 at 8:25 p.m. There is nothing online to tell us what James has said to the person he contacted at around midnight. He was denied entry at the Pickle Bar for apparently being too drunk. James's best friend since childhood commented that James does not have a history of getting too intoxicated or blackout drunk. At most, he gets happy and giggly and is by all accounts a fun and kind guy to be around. Upon looking online, some people have mentioned that the Pickle Bar is known for its rude, sexist bouncers, stating that from their personal point of view, the bouncers could have turned James away for a number of different reasons, not just that he was too intoxicated to enter. When James's best friend since the 3rd grade, Cody, commented on the CCTV that was shown to him about James's body language, he said that James looks angry and stressed in the last known footage of him. Cody has commented on the fact that James didn't talk about Mai much. James's auntie, Valerie, said that her brother, who was James's dad, said that Mai could be overbearing and texted James a lot. His dad didn't initially worry when Mai called him to say James was missing on Sunday morning, when they had gone out just that previous Saturday night. The police and fire officials conducted a search of the river that was close by to the Pickle Bar and wanted to potentially find any clues to James's whereabouts, suspecting that he could have fallen into the river. But they come back empty-handed, and one of the police officers, named Lieutenant Derek Thomas, says, as quoted, "We don't have any definitive information to say he's actually in the river. We're just covering our bases." And to note, also, the area that James went missing is also surrounded by woods. In the episode of Vanished about James, his family commented that his roommate he went out with that night has not been cooperative in the search whatsoever. They have avoided James's family and moved out of the apartment that they shared with James immediately. James was kind and took this person in when they had nowhere else to go, and their behaviour has been slightly suspicious. Obviously, they could be entirely innocent here, and I feel it isn't fair to speculate against people without solid evidence. But of course, when tensions are high and the family are searching for answers, the most normal thing to do when you have any heart at all is to help and try and give as much information as possible. And after living with James and knowing him so well, out of common courtesy, you would think that they would be a bit more reasonable. Although people do handle things in different ways. Something to note is that when the family questioned Mai to ask a few questions about when she last saw James, Mai simply texted her back and said, "Talk to the police." I do personally find that a bit odd. If it were me, I'd be making sure that I was helping the family, at least through kindness if that's all that I could give. So I suppose that's why it all seems a bit strange when it comes to Mai and their reaction after James went missing. The police have said that they don't believe that there's any foul play involved in James's disappearance. I do think it's wrong to jump to that. I understand that there was a nearby river to the pickle bar, James was drinking, but according to CCTV, he wasn't completely intoxicated. People also always straight away jump to the possibility of missing people taking drugs when they've been on a night out with friends. Let's remember that James was a veteran, and not only that, but his close friends have said that when others partook in the drugs, James never did. All in all, this is a strange case, and I hope one day the family gets the answers that they need, so they can rest their hearts. The idea of James just leaving and wanting to start a new life doesn't spark anything for me, but I do believe something happened that night. But what? I don't know. What do you guys think? If you have any information regarding James, please contact the police department as follows: 715-839-4972. Number 2. Carly Gousset. This case, to me, is extremely chilling and very worrying. Carly was only 16 years old and many strange links come through to this case. Let's begin with Carly. She's a young girl and was described as a happy kid with plenty of friends. Her mother had said, "She is absolutely loved by everybody that knows her. She's such a sweet girl, she's funny." Carly also enjoyed dancing and being around her friends. Unfortunately, Carly had been having a few troubles at school. Her grades had been falling and she got into trouble for turning up to her class high on drugs. Her father and stepmother attempted to get her back on track, however, and her grades started to get better. She was getting better. Carly had some teenage troubles, the same as many others, and didn't seem the type of girl to just disappear on a whim. Unfortunately though, this did happen. On October 13th, 2018, Carly would go missing and not be found to date. It all started on the night of the 12th of October when Carly had told her stepmother that she was going to a high school football game, but Carly had other plans that night. Her real plans were to go to a party with her boyfriend, which, please remember, this is a normal thing to do at Carly's age. Her then boyfriend had commented that when at the party, they smoked some weed and she had a bad reaction from it. She had said she was scared, telling him that she was even scared of the music that was playing. Then he had mentioned she was suddenly scared of him. Carly phoned her stepmom and had told her she wanted to be picked up from where she was, and when her stepmom arrived, Carly had already left and was running down a dark road. On the way back home, Carly had told her stepmom that she was worried the vehicle she was driving was going to kill her, and she moved seats several times. Once home, according to a testimony given by Carly's stepmom and father, Carly had continued to express fear and referred to the lettuce in her salad as the devil's lettuce. Her parents said she had extremely dilated pupils. On Fox News, they also stated that her stepmom had recorded her voice, which sounded disorientated. Melissa had wanted to record her stepdaughter so she could show her later what she sounded like under the influence. However, that was the last time anyone would hear Carly's voice again. It was mentioned that Carly was fluctuating between excitement and paranoia. Carly's stepmom also said, and quote, "From Friday evening to Saturday, we had several texts. One saying, 'I told Donald, please pray one time,' which her stepmom has said they don't know who Donald is, and Carly didn't refer to who they were. Carly was talking about going to church and reading the Bible. The parents kept checking on Carly in the night, and in the early hours of the morning, but then discovered that she wasn't at the home anymore. 3 witnesses came forward, and it had been noted that they said she exhibited strange behaviour. One witness claims to have seen her and she seemed disorientated and looking up at the sky. The last documented sighting was Carly walking towards Route 6 in California, which stretches all the way from California to Massachusetts, through 14 states by way of Nevada to Nebraska, Indiana, and then New York. There was no indication of abduction or a physical description of a vehicle, and no Amber Alerts were sent at that time. Sheriff Ingrid Brown of the Monroe County Sheriff's Department, responding to the case, said, "There isn't anything. We have followed every lead. It is super frustrating. It is an open investigation until Carly is located." The police tracked Carly's scent, which was followed from her usual bus stop to this point, and then could not be tracked any further. This case is truly chilling. The questions are ongoing and everyone is desperate for some answers, especially her family. I understand that when someone smokes cannabis, they can have a range of different effects on them, especially if they have any kind of underlying mental health problems that have not been identified or worked on. It can induce psychosis and a huge range of other adverse effects, which doesn't happen often but can. But I personally don't think Carly had some cannabis that night, and that's what induced the psychosis. I personally believe she was definitely under the influence of some type of other drug. It could have possibly been a drug named Spice, which can have extreme effects in comparison to the cannabis. I hope that Carly is found and is somewhere out there safe. One of the speculations around this case was Carly was abducted, which is also another possibility. She was vulnerable that night and someone could have seen her and taken an opportunity. Amongst looking on other sources online, Carly's mum has opened up to a TV show, stating that she believed that Carly's stepmom and father have something to do with it, with another article explaining her father had been arrested after Carly going missing for some type of abuse with a spouse. But again, I think it's not fair to speculate, especially those close to Carly. The more likely thing that has unfortunately happened in this case is the fact that Carly was clearly delusional and her thoughts were taking over her whole body and she was completely not in control. Another source has also said Carly believed someone was tracking her phone. Carly's stepmom's story changed twice, but I think when everything is so overwhelming for families, their stories are allowed to be wrong in some instances. The whole thing was quite traumatic for her stepmom and father to witness and go through, especially the circumstances the night before and how Carly was acting. They did support her, and I think it's unjust to point and blame without absolutely no evidence. Let's also remember there is a possibility that Carly overdosed or ran into something on a disoriented journey. But what do you guys think? What do you think happened to Carly? Will Carly ever be found? Number 1. Andrew Gosden. This case makes me emotional every time I read about it. It truly just breaks my heart. Andrew was a lovely kid with a bright future ahead of him and a loving family who still to this day search for answers of some kind and want to get to the bottom of what's happened here. Andrew was only 14 years old. He was kind-natured, quiet, highly intelligent, and known for being an amazing student, although he was reserved. He was from South Yorkshire in Doncaster in the UK and has been missing since the 14th of September 2007. Andrew was last seen on CCTV in London King's Cross Station, having what seemed to be a one-off rebel for the first time in his life, making a decision that seems to be the unfortunate thing that led Andrew to go missing and to never be seen again to date. Now, let's get into the day leading up to Andrew's disappearance. Andrew left his home on the 14th of September as usual at 8:05 a.m. in the morning. He had trouble waking up and being slightly irritable which his mum had described this as being unusual for Andrew, as he was usually good at getting up and on time for school. He then walked his usual route from home to the bus stop through a local park called Westfield Park. Here he was seen by a family friend named Reverend Alan Murray. He was clearly a reliable witness in the case. However, instead of getting onto the school bus, Andrew goes to a cash machine and he withdraws £200, the maximum amount of money that he could withdraw, as £214 was the total amount in his bank account and the machine would only allow withdrawals of £20 notes. After this, he's then seen on a neighbour's camera system returning to his house. At home, Andrew changes into a black slipknot t-shirt and black jeans, placing his school blazer on the back of his chair and the rest of his uniform in the washing machine. He took a bag decorated with band patches containing his wallet, keys, and his PlayStation portable console. Andrew didn't appear to take a jacket according to his dad, and he also didn't take his PlayStation console charger either. But something to note is that Andrew took keys, so he was clearly thinking about returning home. At 8:38 AM, Andrew left his home with the belongings noted, and he was heading down Little Moor Lane towards Westfield Park, again on a neighbour's camera. He walked to Doncaster Station where he purchased a one-way ticket to King's Cross Station, despite the ticket seller telling him that a return was only 50p or £1 more. The one-way ticket could mean that he didn't intend on returning home, at least for that day, or it could be in relation to something else. Andrew was described as shy, and he was deaf in one ear. He could have easily misheard the ticket seller and been either too shy or awkward to ask her to repeat herself, or even too shy or too socially awkward to change his mind. At 9:35, Andrew was seen boarding the train alone. A woman who sat next to him described him as quiet, and he was engrossed in his PSP game. At 11:20, Andrew's train arrives at King's Cross. Then, at 11:25, he was seen on CCTV leaving the station. This is the last confirmed sighting of Andrew Gosden. Andrew's disappearance wasn't noticed until 7 p.m. His parents had assumed that he was at school. The school had attempted to ring home to report his absence, but had accidentally dialed the number of a student either above or below Andrew in the register and left a message for the wrong person. At home, Andrew's parents assumed he was playing video games in the converted cellar or in his room doing homework. When his parents discovered that he was missing, the police were called and his family and friends searched the area. 3 days after he went missing, police confirmed that he had travelled to London after speaking to the ticket seller. His father stated that Andrew knew people in London he could have stayed with, so the single ticket may not be important at all. Initial police searches focused on areas within London where the family had relatives, such as Chislehurst and Sidcup. The family also handed out flyers at places in London they felt Andrew would have liked to visit, such as museums and exhibitions. So far, there have been 122 possible sightings of Andrew all over Britain, with 45 in London. The family believe the most plausible sighting is one of Andrew in Pizza Hut on Oxford Street, an hour's walk from King's Cross Station on the day that he went missing. However, his father claimed that the police never followed up on this sighting. Other unconfirmed sightings place Andrew in Covent Garden on the 17th of September, another sleeping in a park on South Walk on the 18th of September, and getting off a train at Mortlake Station and walking up Sheen Lane and along Upper Richmond Road on the 19th of September. Later, there were other unconfirmed sightings, from London to South Wales to Plymouth. However, Andrew's father also alleges none of these sightings were ever followed up by the police. In November of 2008, a man visited Leominster Police Station in Herefordshire, West Midlands, and used the intercom system to talk to a police officer, stating that he had information about Gosden. By the time a police officer arrived to take details, the man had left. The police station is located in a business park and is a location that would have required a special effort to visit. Subsequently, an individual claiming to be the man at the police station wrote to the BBC after it featured the case on the One Show. He gave details of a possible sighting of Andrew in Shrewsbury in November 2008. This has never been confirmed, nor has it been confirmed if it was the same man. However, the similarity in dates suggests to that it was more than likely both the same person. Many theories are all over the internet with this case. The most likely scenario is being that Andrew decided to go to a concert in London, a bit of an adventure, and bumping into the possible cause for him never returning home during the time of getting to King's Cross to then his next route. 2 men were arrested in connection with the disappearance of Andrew on the 8th of December 2021, being detained for the suspicion of kidnapping and human trafficking, but were later released. Electronics were taken from the 2 men and the police have said it could take 6 to 12 months to analyse. The older man was also arrested on suspicion of possessing indecent images of children, South Yorkshire Police said at the time. Andrew's family have an oak tree in memory of him. His father has said almost every day since he disappeared he has struggled with crippling anxiety and depression, to the extent it is barely possible to function. I hope Andrew is found and that he is well. I really truly hope that it is not something done out of evil or unjust that has caused Andrew to be missing for all of these years. But the family deserve answers no matter what has happened, and they deserve peace of mind to be able to at least know what happened to him on that day. This really tugs at my heartstrings, and personally, I imagine Andrew planning his little rebellion for one day of his life to go to London. I think he took his PSP, knowing that that's what he likes to do on the train, and he fantasised about it in his head after seeing some type of advertisement for one of his favourite bands playing, and wanted to just go on an adventure. As we all have felt this way being teenagers, Andrew had the backbone to do this. I don't think that Andrew planned on running away forever, with all but the shirt on his back and £200 in his PSP. Something did circulate in June 2018 about somebody under the name of Andy Rue, which was a family nickname of Andrew, appearing on an online conversation asking for £200 to cover his rent as his boyfriend had left them. I personally don't think that was Andrew. I think someone had read about the case and had some knowledge and background from it and was incognito looking for some money from someone, hiding their own identity, using that as an escape from their own. I'm not sure in my head what happened to Andrew, and I don't like to think of anything evil being at play here. But what do you guys think? Here is some information in regards of who to contact if you know anything about Andrew's case. And with that, that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching and staying until the end. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to keep up to date with my videos and take a crack at solving some of the biggest mysteries in the world together.